Welcome to the Meeple Syrup After Show. Designers discussing design. We're on episode 25, and it takes two to tango. That's right, we talk co-design. And thankfully, all our designers, guests, stayed with us for the after show. So that's pretty fantastic. But the first thing I want to do before we forget is we want to announce the winner. Sen, can you tell us the details of what I'm about to tell you?
Well, for those fine folks who do not know, what you will be winning is a fine $50 gift certificate to the Game Crafter LLC, the purveyors of wonderful prototyped goods and services. So we're going to pick a name using our magical, mystical, numerical skills, and then we are going to announce that name. And you will win a prize. I will forward you a code that you will input into a secret code location on the Green Crafters website and get yourself 50 big smackaroos off of whatever it is you wish to purchase there. And hopefully it'll be like game design stuff because, you know, that's kind of what we're all about. So, Daryl, do we have a number?
We have a number. We have a winner.
Drum roll, please, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, that's a weak drum roll.
I know, because nobody else is doing it. Just me.
Come on, drum roll.
Oh, there you go, drum roll. Okay, go.
The winner is Jack Smith from Nottingham, UK.
What? That's awesome!
Oh, yay!
Hey,
congrats,
that's
Jack
cool.
Smith. It was of the number. It was 1219, which worked out to a subscriber number. So, well, good luck, and we'll get a hold of you one way or another. Thank you for backing Meeple Syrup.
Oh, and so what else? What do we got for people next week, Daryl? Just in case they didn't see in the earlier episode.
We have for next week a copy of The Walled City, and if I manage to find, if I can find them, a few mini expansions. So I'll throw those in as well.
Awesome.
So we'll throw those in and mail it to wherever you are in the world. And I'm just excited that someone else out there will have my game. So
Should I give you my address now, or do I need to wait till I officially learn?
Nice.
I'm a backer and a Twitter follower. That's like double dip. So.
Yeah. No, that. Hey, you're allowed. And if you retweet stuff and all that's even more. One thing that I wanted to mention. I don't know if you guys know this. For our quitter, that was Kickstarter plus Twitter combined.
Yeah, we're starting that, baby.
Twitter. For our Kickstarter campaign, we're going to try to give you people, our audience, and our lovely, lovely backers,
our fan cakes,
and our meeps, bonus promo cards drawn by the original artists for games like Belfort, Coin Age, but wait, there's more, Walled City, Caffeine Rush, but wait, there's more. In order to unlock some of them, we need more followers on Twitter and we need more likes on Facebook. We're about 500 shy on Facebook. I know, It's a lot, but to get this cool card, that's what we're looking for, and about 300 or 400 shy on Twitter. So just tell your friends to follow us, like us, and we'll unlock stuff. That's it. Pretty simple. Free stuff. Oh, okay. So let's keep talking co-design. We got a bunch of co-designers. We have Aaron Weissblum and his partner Norm Woods. We have Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle. We have Jonathan Gilmour, who kindly is asking you to check out Vault Wars on Kickstarter, and it's happening soon. Hey, where'd my thing go? I had another thing that I wanted to show. But anyways, and we have Daryl Andrews here as well, of course. Now, all of us co-design with other people. Daryl with Steven Sauer and a lot of other people. Jonathan has gone dark. Jonathan, where'd you? Oh, there he is.
I'm still here.
Okay, good. Jonathan with Mr. Vega. Myself with Jay, and these guys with the other guys in the feed. So we have a whole lot of co-design talent here. Why did everybody here choose to co-design? I'm just wondering, why that?
Ben asked me to. I think that was probably that's the short answer for me.
Yeah.
I had, like I said, I kind of said this during the show, but I never really considered designing a game. It hadn't occurred to me, and I really, in retrospect, truly do appreciate, the opportunity, I guess you could say, that Ben gave me, because it's been amazing. I never had a creative outlet. I'm a sports guy, and I'm a math guy, engineering type, and I never did anything like art or music or anything that was really that kind of way to be creative and kind of put something out there that's a little bit of a part of you. So it's been fantastic. So I think
Totally.
without that impetus of Ben kind of just, mentioning, I joke around saying that he told me, but that's kind of how it went, and I couldn't be happier about it in retrospect.
You got voluntold.
Yeah.
Yes.
From my end of that, I've always, craved that creative outlet. And growing up, I was always a musician, played a lot of guitar, bass, etc. And I was decent, but never, professional level by any means. But to me, that was always a collaborative, thing you do with your friends. Like, hey, so-and-so, you're playing bass now, you're in my band type of thing. So anything I did, I was really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
It had never really occurred to me that I would do it alone because, like Matt had alluded to on the main show, it's more about the journey than one single product. It's about doing it together and going to cons and meeting friends together, and it's just that part of it is the fun for me. So, whatever dozens of dollars we make is cool, but having these experiences with your lifelong friends, for me, has always been what it's about. So when I had the idea for Fleet, it wasn't a conscious decision. It was just like in my head, like, oh, I guess, Matt and I are going to make this game now. So,
That's awesome. No, I know for myself, I mean, at the end of the day, I started dabbling on my own. That was originally how I started thinking about it. But I thought it was a lot more fun to work with someone. Just plain and simple. It was like the creative juices bouncing off of each other, like the excitement of picking up the phone and calling and be like, I got a new idea, and that would springboard off of something else. Like anyone who co-designs knows that feeling of just like, oh, I got to get a hold of that other person and tell them like, I got an idea, and it might actually be horrible, and they'll shoot it down in like seconds, and you're like, oh, I'm an idiot, why didn't I see that? But it's still just so fun to like be able to like call or collaborate or bounce that energy off of someone, and then and it's also that contrast, that the skills that fit together. I think it's a beautiful thing. I know for me originally, I co-designed Walled City with Steven Sauer. He's very artistic. He's a feeler. I'm a thinker. Like it was very like we could balance each other out. Talk each other off of cliffs, yell at each other. Whatever it took. And I found that a really fun experience. Now for us, we actually recently decided to try to like kind of downplay and work on less games. And out of that is kind of like I feel like it's like my breakup story, because like I tell people like, yeah, like I love working with him, he was my first love, but then it's like, but now I have time to make other games and I'm looking for other people, and so like out of that it's been really fun to find new people and look for specific skill sets that I'm like, oh, like I want to make this kind of game, let's try to find someone who's wired that way, or make this kind of game. I've never worked with someone like this, so who knows? Maybe this would work. And so that's been also a really fun exploration.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Aaron said in the show, that instant gratification or that instant feedback that your partner gives you is amazing, and it helps you to really get those ideas out there and fail faster. For me and Jay, who my wife calls my other wife, Jay is my other wife, or I'm his other wife. I don't know how it works. He's taller.
I was going to say, which way does it go?
He's taller. Who knows? It's really we are very different people, but we're kind of the same in a lot of ways. So he knows what I like, and I know what he likes, and we kind of just gel that way. He's the doer. I'm a thinker. So I'm kind of like when Aaron said about the kind of person who can play a game in his head. That's kind of how I do everything. I do it all in my head, and that's the problem, because Jay would make the game and make it happen on the table. And back to I think what Matt might have been saying earlier in the show as well. It's like, you have to put it on the table. You got to see it fail. You got to make that prototype quick and dirty and out of paper and tape on cards and go. And that was something I could never bring myself to do because I had this big, perfect picture in my head of how the game would work, was supposed to work. And then we'd invariably prove that that was close to true, but wrong in so many ways that needed fixing. And the only way to do that is putting it on the table. So Jay gets me to do that, which is why we work so well together. We complement each other's skills in a lot of ways. He's a talker. I'm not a talker. I mean, except on here. But in real life, he's the guy that pitches. He's the pitch master. And I am the supporting cast, I guess, right? So,
Yeah,
how about
we
you,
haven't talked
Jonathan?
about that. Could we?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
We'll backburner it. But
Yeah.
let's come back to, like, John, you talk, Aaron, you talk, but let's come back to, like, we talked about the design process, but we never really talked about the next steps. Like, what do
good
people think? So let's talk about that afterwards, like, who pitches the game or who does art or all that kind of stuff.
So Jonathan, how do you find who you work with?
Well, for me, I kind of do the same thing. I have a job where I can spend a lot of time in my head thinking about the games and, running through games and, walking through turns and trying to visualize everything and work the problems out. But I find that in that vacuum, I don't really work that well. I really thrive when I have people that I can bounce ideas off from. And I know, both Sen and Daryl, I've annoyed you guys over Facebook, just bouncing ideas off from you. And
Looking forward to it.
It's fun.
Talking about different projects. And, when you can discuss your problems with somebody else, it's a lot easier to work them out or to see potential flaws in things that you don't see, when you're the only one looking at it. So, for me, I think it helps if the other person has complementary skill sets, but also if they're, somebody pointed out to me that I say yes a lot when people ask me questions. Like, I try not to say no, and I think that's an important thing too. Like, I'll work with just about anybody if they have an idea and are willing to commit the time and do it. I'm really always up for collaboration. I really enjoy
Hey,
it.
John, this has always interested me. Just really quick, a minute or two.
Yeah.
How would you define you and Isaac's roles? I think a lot of people in gaming are interested in Dead of Winter. What would you say each of you's main thing you brought to the project was?
It was nice because he had a couple games under his belt and a little bit of experience with having his games hit the public and start to get dissected. And you guys know how that is. Once Board Game Geek gets a hold of the game, they're gonna find all the things that you missed throughout the entire process. So he had a little bit of experience that I didn't have with that, so he was able to help prevent a lot of the the pitfalls that you can have with your first design. And he had more time to hone his design skills. So I think it's kind of like Patrick Swayze in Ghost.
Oh, okay.
No, but he was able to help me shape it and turn it into what it became.
So you're Whoopi? Is that what?
Yeah. I'm Whoopi Goldberg in that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Analogy.
Nice. Aaron, what about you? How do you find the people that you collaborate with? Is it really just a location thing?
I found Norm at a poker table. He was the dealer.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So basically, yeah, and like I said, when you're out in a rural area, I mean, you can't be too picky. You got to just find someone, and if they're willing to come over and spend some time, then they'll do it. It turned out I got very lucky in the case of Norm. It was really actually Maine is a place where you can have a life like that, where you say, I'm not going to do all this other stuff. I'm not going to do school. I'm not going to do. You can just focus because no one will even notice.
What are taxes like in Maine?
What's that?
What are taxes like in Maine?
Well, the town I'm in, the property taxes are kind of crazy because we have this thing called school choice where people can move here and we have to pay for their kids to go to school wherever they want. and I think income taxes are pretty normal. It's like 5% income tax.
That's not bad.
Depends what town you're in as far as real estate tax.
True.
But
Okay.
it's a great place.
I like Maine. I quite enjoy it there. So.
I was like, are you like planning a trip or move?
No,
or something?
I like Maine.
We're talking property tax all of a sudden? Man,
Yeah,
you're on
Maine.
the after show and somehow we're talking about like Sen moving to Maine. So
I thought we were moving to Ohio, Sen. I thought that was the plan.
Actually, I have my eyes on a parcel of land in Jamaica. Or Brazil, so I don't know. One of those two places.
Before we go talking about like who does kind of like the after design stuff, I want to go back to John actually because you have an interesting collaborative game that was more than 2 people. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience in the design contest?
Yeah, so that was going to be one of my questions on the show, but I didn't really get a chance to
Sorry.
get to it. How many designers are too many designers? Matt, Ben, and I are working on a project, so that's going to kind of be like a a 3-way thing. But
Sexy times.
But tell everyone how many people you're working with. I think it's fascinating because it went awesome by the sounds of it.
Yeah, so we did the DFW Nerd Nighters design competition, and
Pick up the Nerd Nighters, yep.
I had 6 of my local designers and I all trying to team up to do our project for it. And while we were waiting for the information on the packet, because we had planned a Saturday, that we were going to spend just the entire day designing this, at least starting down the competition path. And while we're waiting for it, we designed a storytelling game. And now, we kind of played it at Unpub, and we got a really good response. So we're looking at publishing it. But yeah, there's 6 of us. There's going to be 6 of us total as designers, which is ridiculous.
1% royalty each. Awesome.
Yep.
It worked. It worked for Cards Against. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, what does everybody think? I mean, how many is too many cooks?
6.
5.
I can't imagine going past 3, honestly. I mean, working with you, John, has been awesome, and I think one of the things that Ben and I always talk about, that one of the best things about designing with a partner is free play testing, frankly. I mean, it's hard to get... Okay, let me back up. It's easier now than it used to be, right? Because Ben and I are sort of somebody, so we can tweet about a game, and say, hey, who's willing to play test, or who's willing to, print this out, and people say yes. But prior to Fleet, no one says yes.
Yeah.
So it's with a design partner, you don't need to do that as early. You can spend your time designing games and play with each other, and we each run 2 hands sometimes, or I'll run 2 hands and he'll run 1 hand, and we'll cycle a game that way in a way that's really hard to do by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, I think 3 is another reasonable number to do that, because you can sort of do the same thing, and you kind of have a little bit of a voting system. Like, okay, 2 guys agree, let's try it. If you get past 3, though, I feel like you're going to get stuck in the mud. You're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, we just did a game, well, not just, it was a while ago, last year, with Josh Capel, so it was Jay, Josh, and myself, and it went really smooth, really smooth, but we've been involved working with each other since Belfort days, so since way back in 2011, ooh. So we've known each other for 4 years, and we each contributed our strengths, so Josh obviously did the art, but his design sensibilities are amazing as well. If you listen to my interview with Seth Jaffe, Seth is just all over Josh's ability to read rules, rephrase things, understand the ergonomics and sensibilities of component design from an artistic point of view, which turns into functionality, which is great. And then Jay and I added our little components in there, and it ended up to be a really good game that Gamelin's putting out next year, I believe. And so that was really fun. I don't know if I could go over 3 though. Just like Matt was saying, I think it'd be maybe too many cooks spoil the broth. Is that the phrase? I think that's the phrase, right? Yeah.
Something
That's
like
what
that.
they say.
Yeah, that's what they say. But is it true? I don't know. What do you think, Daryl?
I mean, I would probably agree. I mean, not to belabor the point, but maybe just because I want to be more part of the game too. I just at 2 or 3 I can see like, oh, I've still contributed a bunch. At a certain point, I feel like I'm like a collaborative author that like maybe, put a few words in there, but like I feel less involved with. But on the flip side, when I heard about John's experience, it sounded amazing. And one thing John said earlier that I think really translated to it functioning, at least from an outsider looking in, is John talking about how they really focused on saying yes. And so they really focused on where could this go, and yes, let's try that, and yes. And I mean, I just thought like that sounds so inspiring, yet at the same time, I'm not someone who says yes all the time. I'm like the no guy. I'm like the bearer of bad news. So I know for me, I probably couldn't function in that because I feel like when Ben and Matt were talking about screaming at each other, I was like, that's my style.
or other people screaming at you. Yeah, that's totally your style.
No, well, I have a co-design. On that note, this is funny. Actually, Sen knows this. I play tested a game with we were at a cottage with how many designers were us?
12 of us.
12 designers in a little cottage in north of Quebec, and we're all like designing different games, play testing each other's games. And I play this game, and the working title before was Santa Pursuit. And you were Santas in a race trying to chase each other, and
it was a weird theme.
I love it. I'm still gonna make that game, but like Christmas stocking stuffer. But anyways, so it's really light and really like kiddish themed, but it actually is pretty deep, like clever mechanic.
Oh yeah. It's really cool.
And so the guy playing to my left, who's another designer, started yelling at me about how the game does not match the theme. This is an adult game. I thought I was playing a light game, and like started getting angry. And I started arguing with him like, that's fine. I don't care. Like, just give me your feedback. And he's like, you don't disrespect the play tester by it. Like, it was just like this big hot mess. By the end of it, we're like yelling at each other, and the next day we sent emails, and now we're co-designing a kids game version of it. So, so it worked out awesome.
Kissed and made up.
Yeah, we kissed and made up, and now we have Jungle Pursuit. It's little animals racing around.
Yeah, we have one playtester like that where if he's playing if he throws components, we know we're onto something good. If we haven't got him to that anger point yet, then there's not enough tension in the game.
Nice.
So we haven't got around to it, but I'm curious at least, and maybe it's a boring answer for some people. Sen already mentioned, Jay does a lot of like the pitching of games, but like who does like showing the games around? Who does like the art for your games? What about all those other side things?
I let Matt do it all.
Matt, do you do it all?
I do most of that.
Like contract negotiations, all that kind of stuff. Like,
we do that together. I think with the prototyping, I generally handle. Ben does some of his on his own as well, like more of a say a proof to concept proto when you're just kind of initially jotting down ideas. After that, and listen, I do this. I'm an engineer by trade, but I do a lot of program management these days. So I do it for a living, I guess, is what I can say. So I'm good at it, and I know that I'm good at it, and I don't mind doing it. So what it comes down to is I'm going to sit there and I'm going to email publishers, and I'm going to follow up with publishers, and I'm going to put the sell sheets together, and I'm going to put them out there, and I'm going to do all those initial contact type things. From a business decision of like negotiating contracts, we do that together. Again, we have the advantage of being able to kind of do that at lunchtime or do that, when we get together live. So we're going to make sure we're making the right decision from a business perspective. But all the protoing and the contact stuff I do. And then at a con, kind of like you had alluded to earlier, Daryl, with pitching, that's a whole different scene. I mean, that frankly depends on who you're pitching and what you're pitching. Like one of Ben's favorite stories, because it's true, is the first time we ever pitched Jay Tummelson of Rio Grande. He's like Stonewall Jackson. I mean, he sits across the table, and you're getting nothing from him. And you're pitching at him, and he, about halfway through, we realized he actually was engaged. And he started asking questions, and he was very interested in the game. But about 10 minutes before that, about a minute and a half into the pitch, I was bombing. And I talk. I talk pretty well. I'm an engaging guy, I think. I'm pretty good at it. But I was getting nowhere, and I could tell. So Ben just cut right in, took over. and finished the pitch basically, and it went really well. I mean, he took the game home. He ended up thinking it was too abstract, whatever. But he enjoyed the game, and Ben saw that I wasn't getting the job done, and that Jay and I weren't connecting in that way, and took
Literally
over
a 1-2
and
punch.
crushed it.
Yeah.
No. So honestly, I mean,
You rope-a-doped him.
it was exactly a total rope-a-dope. I came in, I struggled a little bit. Ben came in and closed.
Well,
So,
I like what Norm said earlier. Sorry, I called him Dan in the main show, but I liked what Norm said a lot. Where if somebody's good at something, then let them do it. And it might seem unfair, and yeah, it's probably unfair that Matt does all the emailing and this and that, but frankly, he's just really good at it. What he's not good at is explaining games. Even at game night, he's terrible at explaining a game. So
even his own games, apparently.
To let him explain one of our games in front of a publisher, that's an area where I'd rather take the lead. Anyway.
I do too much glossing. I'm like, yeah, and then over here you're doing this. For some reason, I can't separate the fact that I know what I mean by that, but the person that I'm explaining it to may not. I'm like, and then over here you're doing this mechanic here, you're doing this thing, you're taking some goods, and then I was like, well, hold on, what do you mean you're doing? There's like a 5-minute mechanic over there that I just glossed right over. So I do that. That's what are you gonna do?
How about you, Aaron? How do you divide up the labor?
Let's see. I do most of the graphics just because I've done that forever and ever.
All self-taught, Aaron?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I think I had Photoshop on my computer in the 80s. So.
You figured it out.
But I'm still a hack with it, but I can get. Actually, pretty funny. There's a game that Frank is doing for R&R games, and when I showed it to him, it was this very simple card game. With a panda theme. And
you love pandas.
It was the absolute worst hack job ever. All I did was I took one head of a panda and put all these different little bodies on it. It's basically cut and paste, and we made the cards. And it's a very simple game. They're just number cards, really.
Right.
And they didn't even know the rules. They just loved those cards. I said, guys, this is just I put in belly dancer, and I took the first one off Google Images and stuck it behind the head. So you just never know, what's gonna. And brother, you guys know his brother Dan.
Oh yeah.
We loved it.
Dan's like, Frank, we got to do this game, and I said, Dan, you haven't even played the thing. He's like, look, I love these pandas. So, anyway.
Yeah.
But,
that's funny. Dan does tend to base his decisions on emotions. They're funny.
Yeah,
They're good people. They're good people.
They're both amazing.
Yeah.
But so yeah, as far as when we make a game, I'm more likely to do that part of that on the computer. Norm's really good at cutting cards out and putting them into sleeves. All of that.
You figure out your roles, right?
Hey, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it.
As far as the business side of it, I've obviously been in it for a long time and have the contacts and stuff. But Norm's great at. I mean, basically, business is a game, and one of the reasons Norm dominated, say, in Magic, was he knew the rules better than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he could tell you all kinds of great stories of how he would just get people disqualified and not even have to play them. So as far as the business side of it, Norm's real good with I make him read every word on the contracts and all that kind of stuff. So.
Good.
But it is true. It doesn't once you agree that you're doing something as a partnership, it really shouldn't matter who does exactly what. It's a question of is the whole thing working or not. So,
right. Do you see value in what everybody else is providing? And I think it's the same for Jay and I. Though you'll probably see more of Jay than you will of me at a convention. He's taller, so I just kind of blend into the background a lot.
He's very enthusiastic.
But he's a big personality.
Yeah.
And people like him instantly. As soon as you meet him, you'll like him. Not that you won't like me, but
everyone loves him. It's like everyone's going out to dinner with Jay by the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just a different thing. So I let him do that because he's good at it. And quite frankly, what I'm good at is logistics. So I plan all this stuff out, like who we're talking to when we're meeting with them, which publishers we should target for what game, Very important thing for us because we make a lot of different styles of games. So we make kids games, we make dexterity games, we make Euro games, we make party games, we make card games. We make the whole gamut. We've made at least one of each and probably published at least one of each type of game so far. And so you have to know all the publishers, and not everybody can do that. And because I think I buy more wide and varied games than Jay does. Jay's kind of a Euro snoot. He'll say he likes Euros, and that's kind of it. So that's all he buys. But I have kids, so I buy kids games.
But it's funny because Jay buys Euro games, but then he naturally thinks of like very themey and like party games, and it just cracks me up.
He
says he's a Euro snob, but then he always gravitates to party games.
Well, he doesn't gravitate to playing them.
No,
he gravitates to making them because of his improv background, and so he's very quick on the pitch. He was the salesman for many years in electronics, so he's got a lot of the skills that I just don't have. But when it comes to writing rules, reading contracts, that kind of stuff, that's where my strengths are. So that's what I do. So yeah, we just kind of blend each other's skills together, and sometimes we'll put each other in that awkward position of, okay, now you do this, just to see if it'll work. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. I've become much better at pitching ever since getting to meet a lot of people at conventions, though. So I mean, that is one piece of advice that I'll give to anybody who's in design or wanting to be a designer is you got to go to conventions because the publishers, I think as much as they like your game, if they like you as a person and want to work with you, you'll stand a much better shot of getting your game seen by them. I can tell you right now there are people in the business who are actually no longer really in the business because they've worn out their welcome. With certain publishers, they just won't get their games seen anymore. It might be the best game in the world, but that person is such a headache to work with that they're like a pariah in the industry. So it's something to consider that you got to be personable and nice. And so that's why the front man, Jay, is much more likable than I am up front. Not that I'm particularly spiny or anything, but he's just more personable. So
I really like what you said, Sen, about picking the right publisher for a project. That is so important, and Matt's very good at that on our end. And I'm really interested to hear Aaron's take on this, being that he's got so many published projects and he's so well known. Like, Aaron, how do you start? Like, you've got so many contacts by this point. Is it just a feel thing, experience, or what goes through your mind when you're deciding who to show a project to?
It's funny. Sometimes it's laziness.
I don't believe it.
Honest answers.
Keep carrying this around and show it to someone else, or I could just let this person have it. So a lot of times it's just that. It's like, for example, I've done a lot of games with Frank lately just because I know I can go sit in his booth and have a nice time, and he has a chair. So, and he'll let me sit down. So then a lot of times by the time I leave, he's talking me into leaving my games with him. But I also came up here to Maine, and you guys are actually probably way more tied in and clued in than I am right now because I took about 10 years off, pretty much. I came to Maine and just kind of like built this new life. And now there's all these game companies I've never heard of, so that's one of the reasons I was excited to get involved with you guys a little bit. Like, I don't even know a lot of these game companies. For example, there's this company, Tasty Minstrel Games, for example.
Oh, yeah. They're
starting to be like, wait a minute, these guys are for real. They're doing some great games. So
they have amazing games.
So I'm just kind of like trying to refigure out what's going on, get my bearings again.
It's sort of the Wild West. It really is.
I even wonder, like, are these same people at these companies? Like, it was at Hasbro, it was always the two Mikes. It was Mike Hurdle and
Mike Gray.
And Mike Gray. I don't even know who's doing that over there anymore. So.
It's not Mike anymore.
It's not Mike Gray.
Right. It's not those guys. So that's one of the things that I got to do now that I'm kind of back into it. So.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you back. I'm actually very happy because I've followed your career ever since I started collecting games back in the day. It started with Alan's games, and then Alan's games led to your games, and your games led to the game that I'm currently enamored with, of Spellcaster. And if you guys haven't played Spellcasters, Jonathan, Daryl, Matt, and Ben,
it's high on my list.
Give it a shot.
High on my list.
It's like a $20 Canadian game, so that's what $5 US?
Yeah.
Something.
I think it's minus money.
Yeah.
That's
It's worth every penny. Every penny that you spend on that game, it's worth it because it's like magic for people who don't want to invest 2,000 hours and $7,000 in a suitcase worth of cards, right? And it's a really neat tactical experience because there's so many little decisions and limitations that get put on you by the cards and how you have to play them. I will say one thing, Aaron, that the rules could have been a little bit clearer on some things, but you and I already talked about that, so I don't know if that was what Dan and...
we should really take responsibility because we always make Frank show us everything, so we could have cut some of it.
Yeah, and it's just some terminology things, but other than that, it's a brilliant game. So you guys should definitely give it a look.
I want to jump in as well and encourage. I mean, yes, please check that out. I sadly haven't played it yet, or I would probably be raving about it as well. But the other thing I would say is people need to watch out for the cult of the new. So there's always this danger of always what's next. Please keep buying new games as well, but I want to recommend people to check out some of the older games that Aaron's been involved with. San Marco, I love teaching people this game. Like, just introducing people to San Marco, it's been a treat. And I know there's a few other designs. I was very excited when Sen mentioned that you were going to be on the show, Aaron, because I am very, very much a fan of your work. So I'm just really thankful that you're on the show.
We'll make a game together sometime.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
I had actually wondered where you just...
It's very exciting that there's all these, like, I guess you guys like, say, like, the younger one generation. You guys are what, like, under 40, right? Most of you guys?
Not me, but the other guys.
Oh, maybe we're all about the same. I was thinking everybody's...
No, everyone else is under 40 except Sen.
Sen is old. I just age well. I don't know. It's the Asian genetics.
The fact that people can this very thing here can be happening is just unbelievable, and especially for those of us that are out in the middle of a hayfield in the country. So it could actually be the beginning of something cool. I like it.
So
go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say because it's the after show. Yeah. I'd like to ask a completely out of left field question. Is that cool?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. So
free.
Because we are such a unusually large group of people, all designers at one time, something that Ben and I talk about quite a bit privately is, how you react. Because listen, we all have games, and obviously you guys, Sen and Aaron especially have a lot more games than Ben and I do, but we're creeping up there, Yeah. And what happens when you play a game with somebody that you've interacted with that you don't like? And I say that because it happens, right? Yeah. I mean, I can never play all of anyone's games, right? And it's funny because Aaron, frankly, I had no idea who you were when we got to the show. I looked you up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've heard of like 50, not 50, that's an exaggeration. I've heard of like 20 of these games, but I would never have necessarily placed you as a designer because I had missed your name, I guess. And I'm not saying I do or don't like all of your games. I'm not saying that or anything like that. But I mean, it's interesting because with Twitter and with this kind of collaboration and with cons, you see these people all the time. And sometimes you may not like the game that they design, and that's okay. But how do you guys? How do other people handle that? You just don't say anything, ignore it.
Something about it is good though. That's interesting, right? You just focus on what's good about it.
That's a good idea.
There's great advice. I will be the opposite answer of Sen, which is why one of the reasons we thought to do the show was because I'm like blunt and politically incorrect, and then Sen will say very wise and socially acceptable things. So whenever we're hanging out with a designer, I'll be the person who says like when it comes up their game, I'll be the first person like, oh, I hate that game, and then usually I don't quite know that person is the designer, so I've done a nice foot and mouth moment, and then Sen will save the day and be like, oh, but you like this aspect of that game, or like he'll smooth it over. But definitely for myself, I am friends with, thankfully, very gracious designers because I am a very opinionated gamer, and yet it's still keep me around.
Endless Games.
Endless Games?
No.
Somebody called Endless Games out of New York.
No. I I might know them, but I don't.
The guy that runs that game, it was the best game show I've ever had. It's the most memorable one. And I showed him a game, and he looked at it, and he said to me, "How do I start?" He said, "There's so many things wrong with this game." He said, "Let me put it this way. I actually hate this product." I just gave him a big hug. I said, "That's the coolest thing anyone." That's like. That's about.
I was filmed. Did anyone see the event? What is it? The greatest American game, or what was that documentary?
The Next Great American Game by.
Yeah, the next great American game. Douglas Morse made a documentary, and he started filming it at the Gathering of Friends a few years ago, and one of the people he started following was myself, just randomly. Just early on, he didn't know what the movie was going to be, and he filmed. And one of my very first things that he filmed me of was with Frank. I would pitch to R&R, and he started playing my game, and he at one point goes, "Yeah, I know what's wrong with this. If I decide to sign it, I'll tell you. Otherwise, I won't." And he just was like, "And I'm done," and he walked away.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So then I was like, that's kind of embarrassing to be on tape, but whatever. And then the next pitch I went to was with Hans and Gluck, and they played it, and he said, "So I hate it, but I don't suggest changing anything. Just people with different tastes than me might like it."
Is that Bert Greenhofer?
I can't remember. It was Michael. Oh, what's his last name? Younger guy.
Okay.
And he was just brutal. He just was like, I was like, all right, awesome. My first two videos are like, I hate it, and I know what's wrong with it, but I'm not going to tell you. And
That's a very funny reaction. I'm not to. We've met Frank a few times. He seems like a nice. We haven't pitched him ever actually, but it's funny that he wouldn't tell you what's wrong because.
Oh yeah, he still won't tell me. And I signed a game with him.
We've never been to BGG Con or Essen, which I know are two of the ones that there's a lot of pitching opportunities, I guess you could say. We do all the American guys at Gen Con and Origins, but we do a lot of email pitching, I guess, a lot of that. And it's funny because, you do get email's very simple because they usually do a sell sheet and rules, and at that point, if they get through those wickets, they think your game's interesting enough to play. But we had one situation where we had pitched a game to a company, actually, Amigo Spiel, and they liked it but thought it was just way too far outside of their class of games, I guess, to the point where they actually sent it to other companies in Germany for us. And they sent it to a few different companies and who thought it was okay. One liked it but wasn't interested, and they sent it to Aaliyah. And the guy goes, "I don't understand why they sent us this game. It's really bad." And,
I have no idea why they thought we would be interested in this game.
That was his direct quote to me, like over email. "I have no idea why, X person at Amigo thought we'd want this game. We don't. While it might have been interesting to do what you're doing, it wasn't." And this is all over email. And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, man. The other guy loves it. He just whatever, So I'm like, "Okay, cool, thanks, And then he sent it back to Amigo, and Amigo get back to us, whatever. The point is, you do run into those. You have those moments, and you have to realize that even if one person doesn't like a game and they think it's awful, terrible, or whatever, that means the next guy might like it, and maybe who knows what the audience wants? No one knows anything about anything. When it comes to
it's different strokes for different folks, right? Hey, have Aaron? You might have experience with this. I don't know if any of the rest of you guys do. Developers. Anybody have a lot of experience with a development team working with the developer on your game?
You mean like once it's in with the company?
Yeah.
Pretty much it depends on this. In my experience, is the size of the company.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's Hasbro, they won't even return your call. They're just going to do it. They're going to do what they do. If it's like Frank's a good example where I just force him to show me everything. Because I say, "Frank, why wouldn't you? Right? Like, it's better if more people look at it." And he's doing most of it by himself. I mean, he has a couple of helpers, but he's doing a lot of the stuff by himself. So for him, it's great if we participate. It really depends on the company. It's fun sometimes when you just don't have anything to do with it, and then you get to see it when it comes out. But then sometimes it's awful.
Yeah. Do you have any horror stories you can share?
Let me think. Yeah, the worst one was a game I'm sure you've never heard of. It was ended up being called, what was it called? Lumberjack was the name of it. And it was actually it was a game we were excited about. It was what I did with Alan, and it was just based on these wooden blocks that were like 2 cubes together, right? So it was
Okay.
and you built this tower out of it, and then it wasn't like Jenga where it wasn't a dexterity game. It was a strategy game, but you pulled blocks off of this tower, color blocks, and well, anyway, they decided to make the theme to make it lumberjacks. They took these blocks and they curved them.
Oh,
and
into like
you
trees.
couldn't stack them up. It would just fall over. They made it so the game wouldn't work. It was really, and not only that, they sent us a prototype of it, and we contacted them in a panic and told them this will not work. You can't even stack it up. And we told them in time for them to change it, and they didn't. So that was really frustrating.
Hey, do you mind, Aaron? I have a question for you, if you don't mind. Because I looked at, as we were talking, I BGG'd Lumberjack, which has a very respectable 5.6.
Yeah.
And which leads to my question: do you, honestly, people always say they don't look at reviews, but I read every single one.
I was just gonna say, who says they don't look? They lie.
People always, I think athletes say that, but they're lying.
I cry every day.
So, I mean, Aaron, you have a lot more games than the rest of us, frankly.
Combined.
And you're going to have some games that are very popular, but not well rated. Some games that are well rated and not popular. So, how much weight or how much value? I mean, you care, right? Tell me the truth. You care about the BGG rating at least a little bit, right?
When a game first comes out, that's when it's more interesting because you want to find out like what people's reactions are to it when it first comes out.
Good answer. Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't go back and look at a game, an older game that often. But like right now, I check on Spellcaster for one thing, because people will actually bring things up that you might want to respond to. That's one of the great things about Board Game Geek. You can actually address people's questions right on there. So I'll do that.
Which is amazing.
It's that engagement piece.
I have a follow-up question. I've heard different designers say something like this. I wonder if you've experienced this, Aaron, where have you ever had a game that was critically, by the small community, maybe not rated terribly well, but sold immensely well? Like, have you ever had one of those where you're like, I don't care what people think, this thing's just sold like gangbusters? Have you run into that one?
Trying to think. I'd say it's usually pretty well aligned. Like for the most part, the games that are better, or at least that seem better to me, have sold more. Trying to think. Probably the game of mine that's done the best has been that over the years has been the 10 Days series, and not really because it's a really simple game, so it might not be the best game. But I think a lot of times sales has to do more with simplicity.
Right, accessibility to a mass market or a bigger market.
So many of the games that we love just are not going to ever, like a game like Puerto Rico. I don't know. I'd be surprised if they've sold 100,000 of those in the life of it, even though it's like one of the greatest games ever. So, but yeah, if you can make kind of the holy grail if you can make a dumb game, it's the best thing you can do, right? That's still fun.
That's so true.
Yeah, we got to start working on more of Matt's designs.
Yeah.
He just lobbed that out there. And
I know.
Ben was ready.
Let the shouting begin.
Yes.
All right, well, on that note, so that they can go yell at each other, I'm going to wrap up the show. No, this was fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you so much, everyone, for the time.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
It was fantastic. And I want to give a little plug for next week. Anyone who's interested in listening, we're going to be talking about hooks or gimmicks, like in games, and specifically our guests are going to be Adam McIver and Alex Cavern. And so both of them are excellent designers and also Adam is a fantastic artist, graphic designer as well. So we're going to talk all things board game design. And I believe Dylan's back. Is that right, Seth?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
We're also going to have the winner for the Walled City. Daryl, you want to show that beauty once more, please?
My baby.
Yeah, that is such a good game. If you guys haven't played that game, give it a shot.
Absolutely.
It is a wonderful, wonderful game. Plays in about an hour every time, no matter how many players you have. Lots of variation, lots of cool stuff. So great game. And just a quick plug for Vault Wars, John. When's it starting?
It's live, isn't it? Today?
Tomorrow morning, yeah. Or today, this morning, yes.
Yes.
This morning. Keep an eye out for it.
And how many days?
9 a.m. Eastern is when it goes live.
Okay. And how many more days left on Floating Market, Ben, Matt? Matt, Ben?
About a week.
Yeah.
About a week left? And you guys are fully funded. You guys are like way overfunded, right?
Yeah, it went very well.
Keep it coming. Rewards, stretch goals.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and guys, we're gonna end this on a happy note because it's actually Daryl's birthday, like right now. So if you'll all join me in singing "Happy Birthday" to Daryl, ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Daryl. Happy birthday to you. Oh, nice hat, Daryl. Nice hat. Awesome.
All
right, thanks, guys,
thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
Oh, let's get those credits up, Daryl. Where'd they go? Oh, not those credits. No. Ah, man. Oh, these credits. These are good credits. I like these ones. Hold on.
No. Wait
No.
for it.
Oh, wait for it. Oh,
With
wait
it.
for it. Oh, they're coming. It's the hat. The hat's distracting me.
Yeah. Can I make it move? Oh, yeah, yeah. There we go.
Oh, there it goes. Oh, it came off your head. Hey.
There's our
Yeah.
deets.
Yeah.
Find us on Kickstarter. Thanks, everyone.